The judge in the Tyler Robinson case is expected to rule June 1st on two defense motions, one asking to close portions of a July hearing to the public and another requesting sanctions against prosecutors for making out-of-court statements about evidence in the case. Both legal teams arguing over the issue. Listen.
How it is that Mr. Ballard came to be going on this media tour, because that gets to the seriousness of the misconduct.
Who's Mr. Ballard?
And the types of sanctions that are appropriate.
Is that
Usually,
the roommate?
This is performed in the courtroom, but occasionally it must also be performed in the media. An attorney cannot stand idly by while his client's legal rights are undermined and trampled upon by mischaracterizations of the evidence.
Criminal defense attorney Josh Ritter was in the courtroom to hear both arguments. He joins us now. And Josh, as you well know, being an experienced attorney, you get a feel when you're in a courtroom that you can't get when you're just watching it on TV or reading about it after the fact. So did you get the sense, being in that courtroom, that the judge is inclined, let's start with the sanctions motion, to sanction the prosecution for talking to the media?
I don't think so, and I hope not, because I do think that the motion is not without merit. I don't know if I go that far, but I don't think it rises to the level of actually granting sanctions against the prosecution. I think what we're seeing here more than anything is this continuing hyperfixation by the defense on the perception of this case and the perception of their client outside of the courtroom. They're very concerned with how is he being perceived by the media, what things are being said about him to the media, and that's where this.
I'm so tired of all of these baiting headlines and about everybody doing stuff strategically, all for money, all for anything other than the truth. It's unbelievable. Our culture has gotten so toxic.
Request for sanctions is coming from. They had a problem. They took issue with the prosecution simply correcting the record about an ATF report regarding the ballistics in this case, where the prosecution was simply saying, no, the media's got it wrong. Here's actually what that report is saying. Not really commenting on their client at all, but that alone was enough for them to try to ask this judge for sanctions.
And a similar thread to that, Tyler Robinson's lawyers are also asking the judge to keep the viewing of some evidence in the preliminary hearing private. So why would Robinson's lawyers be pushing for this, and what do you think the judge does here?
Again, it comes back to they're concerned with how people outside of the courtroom are going to perceive this. Many times, what is presented during a prelim is not necessarily evidence that will be presented or evidence that will be presented in the same way at a trial. What I mean by that is sometimes you're allowed certain levels of hearsay to come in during the prelim because you're trying to move things along, streamline things. This is not a...
Are they going to mention the roommate? I guess that was Mr. Ballard at the beginning, but what is the roommate twist?
A hearing to determine guilt. It's a hearing to determine probable cause. But the judge handles that, and it happens all the time. They are not taking issue with the way that that evidence will be presented. They're taking issue with the fact that cameras are going to be able to show it and that the public will be able to see it. And they think that that somehow will affect the ability for their client to have a fair trial. Yeah. Again, like I said, they seem to be very preoccupied with how the media is portraying this and how the public is perceiving it, rather than being concerned with the facts and evidence against their client inside of the courtroom.
One of the witnesses that the state does plan to call, that we have now learned, is Robinson's roommate and lover, Lance Twiggs. And that brings me to this question, Josh. Are there any privileges that apply to a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a lover? Because we all know that there's the marital privilege that can be used.
And I guess he was dating a transgender person at the time, if I have that correct, which I think was also the case with the guy who they say shot at Trump in Butler, PA. I could be wrong on that.
But in my experience, and again, I haven't done this since 2008, but you can't get protection if you're just a lover. What say you?
Yeah, that was a shocking moment. That was the first time that we heard that he's not actually going to testify, but they do have a recorded interview that they plan on playing during that prelim. And you're right, there is no privilege that exists. So any conversations that they had are...
That is going to be a good interview. If I can get a hold of that, I'll put that on the channel for sure.
Certainly going to come in, and I imagine he's fully cooperating with investigators and the prosecution team, because I will be honest with you, there is an argument to be made that perhaps he knew more and should have done more ahead of time, but it sounds like for now he's playing nice with the prosecution.
And prosecutors, of course, intend to seek the death penalty if Robinson is convicted. Criminal defense attorney Josh Ritter, we thank you for your time.
That wasn't a shocking twist, although I am really interested in this roommate interview that is recorded. Guys, have a great day. I'll be over on the LG Shirley channel dropping a little video about consistency. If you guys want to check that out, I'm going to be uploading that here in the next hour. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Peace. Love you guys.